Hi everyone, it's Raina. So this video is if you have your natal Venus in conjunction with the Ascendant. So before I begin, I just want to give a shout out to cafeastrology.com as well as astrology.com. When I do these types of videos where I'm looking at specifics that are kind of like, I don't know if you call them tutorial videos, but where I'm going more into depth versus like a few phrases, I like to consult websites in order to make sure that what I'm thinking on my own is in alignment with the information that is being put out. And you will find with astrology that there are going to be differences of opinion. That's why it's a good idea if you're trying to learn astrology. I personally would think it's good to have books and physical books where you can just really absorb it, because I don't really like to look at screens, but to at least consult more than one source for your information, because first of all, you're going to get a more well-rounded ideas about a particular thing that you're looking for, but you're also possibly going to see where different sites contradict each other and what resonates for you, because sometimes I'll go through several sites and I'll be like, nah, I'm not buying that. And I don't just believe everything that I read. Sometimes, you could have a site that's basically good, but you just don't like one of the entries that they have. Okay, so you could say that somebody who has this conjunction is going to be physically attractive. You can't guarantee it, though, 100% of the time, because this is like having Libra rising. I would say, Taurus is also ruled by Venus, so you could say that as well. But when I think of Venus and the embodiment of the qualities that I would associate with this conjunction, I lean more towards Libra because of refinement. Taurus, to me, is very earthy, and therefore it has it may have beauty, but there's also this kind of sensual type of energy that's associated with it. And with Libra being an air sign, I think of that kind of ethereal type of beauty and grace. So a person who is considered attractive is, usually going to be good looking, but sometimes it can be this quality that we wouldn't associate with physical beauty, because not everybody with this conjunction is necessarily going to have this going on within themselves, but there will be, at the very least, this gracious quality. The person may be the kind of individual who is very complimentary towards others. They make other people feel good about themselves. They have the social graces, and that gives off that Venus vibe. And by the way, you also have to look at the sign or signs in the conjunction, because a conjunction will typically be two planets or two points, astrological points that are in the same sign, but not all the time. So you have to, but let's just assume that we're talking about one sign. Is this sign in Scorpio? If so, the person may be charming, but there might be this kind of a shrouded part to them where there's a mystery. Now that mystery could be very attractive to others. Remember that attractiveness means that the person is magnetic. That's what magnetism is, personal magnetism. It's drawing somebody towards you. But we have taken it to mean good looking, but it can be an aura. And with a sign like Scorpio, it can be a strong pull, but it can also be something where another person feels, I don't know, a sense of trepidation because of what Scorpio represents. There's a ferocity with Scorpio. There's an intensity with Scorpio. It's not light and airy like if this conjunction was in Libra or if this conjunction is in Gemini. And by the way, in terms of beauty, if we just talk about the strict beauty and how that would affect the person, I personally feel that somebody who has the conjunction in Gemini, that, for instance, women who are Geminis, and even I'm talking about even like a sun sign Gemini, is that they can have very delicate features. And so that kind of thing can show up. So it's all of the air signs, I mean, but especially in my experience, Gemini and Libra. Aquarius is a little bit different because of other qualities that Aquarius represents, which kind of reject fitting into somebody else's beauty standards, for instance. So that's not something I want to include in that, but definitely Gemini and Libra. If that conjunction is, and also too with Libra, there might be some Libra Venus sign and ascendants who are not physically attractive, but they're amazing dressers. They're just like, I myself, if I saw this young woman today, and I thought, she almost had like a tomboy look, but I thought, wow, I like people with style. That doesn't mean that because I have Taurus rising, so I can appreciate the aesthetics of, the choice of color, and it's not always, typical. So these kinds of things can be what a person is known for. Like they always have a little bit of flair. They have elegance. I'm not talking about designer clothing. I'm talking about somebody who has their own personal style. Some people just, throw on a t-shirt and jeans and they don't care about style. But some people, they might just have a hat that, just makes them look cool or whatever. But they have that aesthetics going on. But there are certain signs where it can come off a little bit differently. What if this conjunction is in Aries? How would that look? The person may have red hair, and they may have very kind of flashy clothing and like bright colors, and they're not necessarily, it's a masculine sign. It's very physical. There's a physicality with Aries. So even for females, they may favor like sweatpants and stuff like that. They may not, or maybe hiking boots because they want to go on some adventure. So, but there's going to be some quality that other people see that kind of draws them in. And by the way, if it is in Aries, because Venus is the planet that is joining forces with the rising sign, it could definitely modify that tendency for instance, Aries rising to be very aggressive. And kind of that could be very off-putting to other people because they see this pushiness, and that's the first thing they see with you. So the Venus influence, the Venusian influence, can make the person a little bit less rough around the edges, in other words. There are some ascendants that really can give like a youthful nature. I would say the two that jump out at me are Gemini and Pisces. And with Gemini, it can be just like the person that never sits still, and they may never gain an ounce of, they may never gain 1 ounce of weight. They're always just kind of like a live wire. and they have that Peter Pan influence. With Pisces, it's kind of like almost being innocent like a child. And there can be this ethereal kind of a look. And by the way, this can also affect a person's artistic abilities. And I would say, because I was mentioning Pisces, that's definitely one of the signs that I would associate with an artist, as well as a sign like Libra. That's another one just off the top of my head. But maybe all the water signs in their own way, maybe even Cancer rising. But with the water signs, it could, whenever, just even by itself, if you have an ascendant in water, you may have a tendency to to retain water. And so with that conjunction with Venus, this may be, who knows, maybe this is part of your look, and maybe there's an appealing quality in that. I know people say, oh yeah, you really look great when you're bloated, but it's, but I mean it like for a woman, it may give her more of a voluptuous type of appearance, perhaps. I'm just guessing, I don't know. But, it's interesting because when I think of being voluptuous and I think about a sign like Taurus, and you think about this type of conjunction, this could definitely be how it turns out. And this is why I was saying I think that Libra would be more elegant and Taurus is more earthy and sensual. And, people who have Venus and Taurus tend to be very into the senses. How does something taste? How does it smell? How does it look? How does it sound? I mean, you could even say food. You could say, oh, I love the sound. I love that sizzle of that food that's cooking. If I'm frying something, oh, I love that sound. It's not even just the scent, the aroma, but the actual sound and how something feels. But in any case, that combination could be a woman who is voluptuous, and she loves being wined and dined or doing it for somebody else. Or if it's a male Venus in Taurus with Taurus rising, you may really have this kind of appeal that makes you seem very much in tune with the material world in different ways, but that quality appeals to certain people. Another thing that can happen with this combination is that you can be the type of person who wants to, be pleasing to others, and that can lead to people pleasing. So this combination, just like I said, with this almost like having a Venus rulership, being that Venus is in conjunction with the ascendant, has to be careful about saying yes when you mean no, because you don't want to ruffle any feathers. You don't want to get somebody pissed off at you. And yet, that's life in the big city. We can't always please everyone. We're not always going to be accepted by everyone or approved of, and we have to be authentic. And there are certain signs that tend to have more difficulty with this ability to assert themselves. Offhand, I would say especially Pisces, Libra, and maybe Cancer. And sometimes, when this occurs where the person feels like they can't please somebody, they can get passive aggressive. So they register their displeasure through indirect means. One of the biggest ways that a person like this will register their disapproval is through sarcasm. Now, sometimes I wouldn't say, oh yeah, another say, when I thought of sarcasm, I thought of Virgo. Virgo in this conjunction could be like that type of person who, but again, you have to look at other factors as well as to how these signs will let people know that they're not pleased about a situation, because it really will depend on other factors as well. But I'm just saying that you could find yourself in a pattern where this is happening over and over again, and you don't want that to be a pattern, but you don't see any alternative because you're so used to kowtowing to others. For instance, Cancer is a caretaker, and if somebody has Venus in Cancer, in their relationships, they may want to mother them, even the males. They can want to take care of their partner. Well, sometimes other people don't want to be taken care of, and they may rebel against something like that. Although I didn't see this mentioned, I think one of the potentials for this combination is to exploit beauty. And one of the reasons that this occurs is because Venus is connected to money. Venus is the sign of, rules Taurus. Of course, it also rules Libra in the 7th, but Taurus rules the 2nd house of earned income. So Venus is always associated with money. And so this can, to me, lead to somebody that exploits their beauty. But you could look at it in a better light, and you could say that it's somebody who monetizes their beauty. And because they're taking advantage of their appearance. Maybe this could be somebody who's a model. But maybe it's somebody who's a stripper. And of course, it's a very interesting situation because I have already done a series of videos on Venus-Pluto aspects, and you will see that the joining of forces between Venus and Pluto in the various configurations, but especially the hard angles, I would say that it can lead to somebody who is trying to, gain power and money through the sexualizing, something in their life. So that might even be more hardcore in a sense because Pluto is involved, because it can be something taboo, for instance. It's so funny because when I said that, I was thinking about how, I don't know where I read this, but they were talking about things that you can do where it's not overtly, it's just not like what we would typically think of sexual, but you can make money from somebody else's kinks. And they were mentioning, and of course, well, I shouldn't say of course, but these were women who were saying this to other women, like, oh yeah, you can like be a foot model or something, so a guy with a foot fetish, you don't have to take off your clothing. All you have to do is take off your socks. and I have, seen that on YouTube. I don't know if they still allow those videos, but, where you can tell that, they're trying to appeal to men. It's like a foot fetish, but then there are other things too. Like, it gets kind of gross. Like, I don't even know why I'm doing this in this video, but I'm just going to say it. Selling your farts in jars. And then what was the other one? I'm probably grossing out people who have this combination, but that's okay. um, and even like used underwear. Okay, so anyway, that those things, I'm not endorsing those things, by the way, but yeah. So I think that something like that, and especially if the combination is in Scorpio, because Scorpio can deal with taboo issues, that might be something that an enterprising young woman thinks of as a way to monetize that, underbelly of life, and at the same time where they don't have to, do something that's drastic in terms of that. Well, I mean, it seems pretty drastic to me, but whatever. So I don't know. I was not planning to talk about something like that. So I'm really sorry, but it just came into my mind. Um, I just think that this combination has a way with people, and this can make it easy for you to navigate around in social situations, even if you have other things going on that are not quite as social. Like if you have the sun in the 12th house, for instance, and you read something in astrology where you're like, oh yeah, you love solitude and this and that, but you might say, but that's not really me. And that might be because you have this conjunction and you just feel comfortable dealing with people. But you have to be careful that you are not being inauthentic. I think a lot of times there can be that tendency to be kind of like on the surface, shallow, trying to be appealing over trying to be authentic. And that may gain you a lot of popularity, but not a lot of sincerity in the form of how your relationships are really going. Because as we know, you can have somebody who's a great schmooze artist, but are they really connecting with people at a deep level? Or is it just telling people what they want to hear? And is that real connection? At the end of the day, can we say that that's true connection? I mean, we can make a great case that that is not actually good connection. Or you could say, I shouldn't say the word good, but authentic connection. And the other thing, and I say this about Libra rising, people who have Libra rising, for instance, they may find if they, in their family of origin, that they had to look good. I'm not talking about their physical appearance, but it could have migrated into that as well. But that there was something about what was really happening behind the scenes in their family. And you could even say, yeah, I could put it this way. If the rising sign is Capricorn and Venus Capricorn conjunction, rising conjunction in Capricorn, maybe the family is prominent somehow, and the child feels like they have to be the perfect child in order to make the parents look good. And that can, create its own set of problems because we're all human. We're all capable of having an off day, not always looking perfectly polished. And yet, sometimes parents demand that their children be extensions of themselves in some way so that it can make them look like they're good parents, like they're doing everything right. The child of a minister who has to always say and do the right thing. The child of a politician. That kind of thing. So I think I've covered a lot of things I wanted to say. I hope that this resonated with you. If you would like a private reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.